Yeah, he had a great run, and it's fun to watch. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa. Caitlin Clark play about the same last year, so I was watching a lot of basketball.
Larry Bird may have just done what the entire WNBA won't. He's effectively offering Caitlin Clark her very own franchise. That's right. Not a sponsorship deal, not a quick pep talk or a vague "we're proud of you" press release, but a complete roster build around her. When you line up Bird's blistering public comments, Clark's rough treatment on the court, and the league's failures step in, it starts to look like more than hot air. There's no signed contract or official announcement yet, but if Bird has secretly sketched out a plan under all that Celtics memorabilia back in French Lick, Indiana, it wouldn't be surprising.
Hey, before we get into the video, be sure to enter our brand new giveaway. We'll be giving away any of these items. It's your choice. To enter the giveaway, leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, turn on notifications, and most importantly, watch the whole video. It's that simple.
I believe it's this entire class of WNBA draftees led by Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, call Larry Bird, ask him for advice. Indiana, he's already there.
After Marina Mabrey's reckless blindside shove nearly rearranged Clark's face, mere moments after Clark endured an eye poke, Bird apparently decided enough was enough. Instead of pleading with league executives or calling for a summit, he's grabbing a clipboard, donning a whistle, and diagramming plays for Team Clark. Dirt plays? Go ahead. She'll simply assemble her own squad or carve out a locker room where elbow-to-the-head tactics aren't part of the pregame routine. Sure, it's conjecture, but once Bird starts publicly naming names, ripping into the league's culture, and hinting at launching a new franchise just to protect Clark, whispers turn into headlines. Suddenly, the idea of Bird backing a team around her doesn't sound like a wild theory. It actually makes business sense.
And it's the refs, it's the commissioner of the league, it's some of the team owners. They are so stupid and so bad at their jobs in understanding what they have in Caitlin Clark, who is the face of the league.
If you're digging this breakdown of his blueprint, hit subscribe and drop Bird in the comments, because this saga is only heating up, and it beats watching the WNBA fumble its most marketable star. If Bird's on the horn, you'd better hope Nike picks up. At this rate, the roster around Clark could come from Bird himself, a deep-pocketed startup, or even across the Atlantic, but probably not from the league she plays in. Right now, Bird is doing more for Clark's career than the WNBA has all season. While league officials refresh Twitter feeds, hoping the storm dies down, Bird sounds like he's drafting a 5-year roadmap, chartering jets, and personally coaching her into the Hall of Fame. When the league won't build a team around her, he might just do it himself.
5-time NBA champ Magic Johnson practically begged Caitlin Clark to seek some advice from Larry Legend.
And I think that he could give her great advice on how to handle this situation because he went through it himself.
Bird defended Clark more fiercely in one interview than half her teammates have all year. He isn't just watching games, he's breaking down film, analyzing body language, and likely texting sponsors at Hy-Vee about stadium naming rights. Remember, this is the same competitor who used to throw elbows at veterans just for breathing too hard near him. Now he's unloading verbal haymakers on behalf of a rookie who's been shoved, tripped, and eye-gouged, yet still leads the league in class, composure, and TV ratings. You don't go that hard unless you see something extraordinary, where you're one bold headline away from launching your own Clark-centric basketball universe. It's reached the point where Larry Bird strolling in with shades and a clipboard wouldn't raise an eyebrow. We're all just waiting for the formal announcement. Executive Director of Caitlin Affairs, with his first move being to trade every cheap shot artist and replace them with players who know how to compete without turning the court into a cage match.
Caitlin Clark, please leave this league and let it crumble. Please, this league does not deserve you. All this hate from these black people, all this hate from these lesbians, these people in the media, just go play basketball somewhere else. Your fans will follow you. We will follow you wherever you go.
Bird's devotion isn't quiet. It's bold, unapologetic, and it might even be ready to register as an LLC. Now let's zero in on what sparked the fire. That shove. Marina Mabrey's infamous, "Oops, I didn't see you there as I blasted your spine." Move on Caitlin Clark wasn't merely aggressive. It was utterly unnecessary. It was the kind of reckless play that sent every retired veteran over 50 into a frenzy, wondering when basketball turned into a street spectacle. And Larry Bird didn't just yell at his TV. He laid waste to the act with words. To him, that wasn't competition. It was cowardice.
You were immediately a better player if you were on the court with Larry Bird because he would figure out what you could do, he could see what you couldn't do, and he would get you in a position to highlight and emphasize what you did well, and he would help you succeed in that.
The most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades. Keep in mind, this is a man who powered through broken fingers, aching backs, and the intense mind games of the 80s league. He squared off against Rodman, Lame Beer, and Mahorn, guys who would spike you with an elbow just to make a statement. Yet nothing from those battles made him as furious as Mabrey's casual shove from behind, while Clark was still blinking away an eye poke like a startled cartoon character. And the strangest part was how calm everyone else seemed. Sure, fans erupted with outrage, but where was the league's reaction? No flagrant foul, no hefty fine, no mandatory "please don't assault our top star" bulletin. That lack of response is probably why Bird took it upon himself to act as Clark's unofficial protector.
Magic offered her some advice. He advised her to seek some advice from Indiana's own Larry Legend. Now, Larry Bird's easily regarded as one of the best NBA legends ever, so seeking advice from him wouldn't be a bad idea. Because just like Bird, Caitlin was not welcome to the big league with open arms.
Apparently, elbowing her in the neck earns you a pat on the back. Defending her earns you labels like old, soft, or, worse, sensible. If you thought the shove itself was bad, listen to how Mabrey tried to excuse herself. An apology? A hint of remorse for blindsiding a rookie already nursing an eye injury? Not a chance. Instead, she leaned on the classic victim routine. This is real life. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Oh, the tragedy. Imagine the burden of having to own a cheap shot on national TV. For Bird, that was the last straw. The act alone was infuriating, but that tone-deaf defense made him see red.
What's happening in WNBA is what happened when Magic and Bird went to the NBA.
I said from the very beginning, Caitlin Clark is Larry Bird with a... She plays that game. She's Michael Jordan in terms of her influence on moving the needle for this league. But her game is Larry Bird. And it's not just the shooting. You watch her for very long. Her passing is honestly as magnificent as her shooting. She makes the players around her better.
In Bird's world, legends don't moan about fallout. They embrace the hits, dish out their own, and if they cross the line, they say that one was my fault. What they don't do is whine like actors auditioning for a teen drama spinoff. Bird noted that Mabrey's reaction felt like the playbook of someone who knows they can't match Clark's skill, so they try to matter with theatrics. In other words, can't outscore Clark? Shove her, and then share a cryptic post online. But he didn't stop at calling out her tactics. He called into question her place among true competitors. Not because she lacks toughness, but because she mistakes reckless stunts for relevance, and the league's willingness to let that slide only proves his point. To Bird, it was a glaring neon sign that says we've stopped valuing pure talent and started applauding the loudest chaos.
Boom. More importantly, the league, the refs, you're going to let people take cheap shots like that over and over and over at the face of your league, the future of the league, the most important player in your league.
That is why he's talking about creating a whole new environment, one where Clark can shine. Because if this is the WNBA's vision of competition, Bird might have to start printing jerseys of his own. Here's the kicker. He didn't just defend her. He wove her into his grand plan. He looked past the elbows and snubs, the media ambushes and jealous rivals, and still declared she's better than any of us ever were. Coming from Bird, that isn't just praise. It's basketball royalty handing over the crown and saying, "Excuse the mess, Your Highness." Bird recognizes in Clark a force that would unsettle any league. He sees his own intensity reflected in her drive, his own basketball smarts, his talent for flipping a broken play into a highlight. Yet he also realizes she is not just up against opposing defenders. She is battling a league that cannot decide whether to champion her or undermine her. Back in Bird's rookie season, opponents tried to intimidate him, but always face to face. In Clark's world, half the league resorts to behind-the-back tactics while officials seem to have vanished.
Ratings go down 50% when she's not there. Ratings rocket through the roof when she is. Everybody has to watch these box office. If the refs are going to let people have open season on Caitlyn, bump her, knock her down, throw her down, cheap shot her, it's time for the Fever to wake up like Sophie Cunningham did, say, enough is enough. You're going to do that. You hit us with the feather. We're going to hit you with the crowbar right in the brain. That's what we got to do.
That is exactly why Bird is on the verge of imagining a basketball empire built entirely around Clark. Because he knows she could be more than the league's top performer. She could be the very reason the league endures. As others see her as a threat to their pride, Bird treats her as the future of the sport. If the league refuses to safeguard her, rest assured he is already picturing what it would mean if he did. Clark is more than an outstanding athlete. She is a once-in-a-generation phenomenon. The fact that she spends so much energy avoiding cheap hits instead of chasing championships strikes Bird as a gross misuse of talent. And here's the real spark that could make him throw down his clipboard in frustration. And if you're enjoying this, hit like and subscribe now, because it only gets wilder. The league's total silence. Mabrey smacks the league's biggest star while she is literally seeing stars. And the official response is basically, that's shocking. No penalty, no suspension, no statement, not a single cutting tweet, just empty air. At this point, you could send Clark tumbling mid-layup, and the league might award you a gift card. Bird understands this shrug for what it is, a massive organizational failure. And if you know anything about Bird, you know he does not stand for indifference. This is the man who once battled back spasms so intense he lay motionless between possessions. Watching executives pretend nothing is wrong while Clark is pummeled each quarter is not only embarrassing. In Bird's playbook, it is a cardinal sin. He did not hold back, calling out the league for rewarding half measures and putting real talent in the crosshairs. Here is the true twist. The league is failing Clark, and in doing so, it is failing itself. Bird declared that allowing this to continue sends a terrible message to young fans. It teaches them not to perfect their shot or study the game, but to strike harder and hope the officials remain oblivious. It is like trying to grow flowers by setting the garden ablaze. Bird, who built his legacy on skill, grit, and mutual respect, is not merely condemning this trend. He is issuing a challenge. Fix it or he will blow the whistle and do it himself. Clark does not wilt under pressure. She flourishes. She endures fouls, shoves, blows to the face, jeers in every arena, and still dishes brilliance as if it were a routine board meeting. Bird insists that most players would crack under this barrage, facing a mid-season crisis of confidence. Clark? She turns each cheap shot into fuel. Every slight adds another spark to her fire. Bird watches it all unfold like a proud and fiercely protective basketball parent. Bird said, Clark's mental toughness is through the roof. While other players moan about playtime and podcast rankings, she is carrying a team, rescuing the league's ratings, and somehow maintaining her cool when she takes hits that would floor most athletes. And she is only 22. At that age, Bird was trying to survive on an Indiana State meal plan. Clark endures street fight intensity in Connecticut and then walks into post-game interviews as if nothing happened. Bird even compared her to his own rookie year when veteran players tested him just to see if he belonged. The key difference is she does it as the face of an entire league, a worldwide draw, and a live-action highlight reel all in one. Bird did not have TikTok edits and dozens of cameras following his every move when he got knocked around. Clark does, yet she never blinks. That is why he keeps talking about her with that fierce look in his eyes. He knows what's coming. Not just greatness, but a moment that will leave every doubter, critic, and cheap shot artist in the dust. If she is already this impressive while being assaulted in slow motion, imagine what happens when she finally gets the freedom to just play. The most fascinating part of Bird's perspective is that he does not see Clark merely as a victim of circumstance. He sees her as the proving ground for the future of professional basketball. In his view, how the league treats Clark today will determine whether basketball evolves as a game built on skill or slides into a spectacle where true talent is buried beneath manufactured drama. He emphasizes that Clark brings something the league has never witnessed before, a player who can transcend the sport while lifting it at the same time. She is not just bringing new fans to the league. She is igniting a whole new conversation about what women's basketball can become. That is exactly why Bird protects her so fiercely. He understands that talents of this caliber appear once every generation, and when they do, they must be guarded at all costs because they carry the hopes of an entire sport on their shoulders. What truly sets Bird off is the league's lack of vision. He watches executives and players treat Clark as though she's only here for a season or two before fading into the background. But Bird knows better. He has seen what happens when a truly special player receives the support she needs, and also what happens when she does not. The difference between those outcomes is not just one player's success or failure. It is the difference between a league that thrives for decades and one that struggles to maintain relevance. That is why Bird is not merely defending Clark's right to play without being attacked. He is defending the league's right to a future worth watching. Larry Bird is not just standing up for Caitlin Clark because she draws crowds or sells jerseys. He is defending the very soul of basketball. This is not a personal vendetta or a midlife crisis. Bird sees the league at a crossroads and warns that if the game continues to allow cheap shots and dirty tactics to go unpunished, it is not only Clark who will suffer. The entire league's survival will hang in the balance. He is drawing a line between two possible futures, one where dedication, true competition, and genuine skill shine through, and another where the loudest cheap shot wins and basketball becomes nothing more than a gladiator contest without any grace. Bird is clear. If the league continues to shield mediocrity by letting players like Mabrey escape punishment, the stars who fill the arenas will disappear faster than a game-winning shot at the buzzer. Yes, Bird may sound like the grumpy old man hollering at kids to stay off his lawn, but that is only because he has seen what happens when you fail to protect your best talent. He recognizes that Caitlin Clark is more than just a WNBA athlete. She has become a focal point for everything the league could aspire to be. And if the league does not step up to shield her, the loss will extend beyond Clark. It will be felt by every fan who loves basketball as basketball itself. Bird's stand is not just a reaction to one shove or a single offender. It is a clear declaration that the league must reform itself or risk watching its brightest prospect fade away. And if that calls for launching an entirely new team or organization to guarantee her safety, then Bird might just be the one to make it happen. Who could argue with him at this point? What makes this situation so compelling is how Bird seems to be positioning himself as far more than just Clark's defender. He is emerging as a visionary for what professional basketball should become in the 21st century. His vision reaches beyond protecting one player. He speaks of crafting an environment where genuine excellence is celebrated, where mastery outshines theatrics, and where the sport itself takes center stage instead of the surrounding spectacle. Bird's unspoken message is that if the current league framework cannot deliver that atmosphere, perhaps it is time to build something entirely new. And honestly, when you consider Bird's track record as a standout player, a strategic coach, and a savvy executive, the idea of him leading a basketball transformation does not seem out of reach. He has already proven he can spot raw talent, build effective systems, and foster winning environments. Now he argues that Caitlin Clark deserves to benefit from that expertise in an organization that truly values her. So is Larry Bird secretly assembling Caitlin Clark's dream lineup behind closed doors? Officially, no. But when a legend with 3 championship rings begins critiquing how the league abandoned its brightest star and hints at building a fresh venture, you have to take notice. Perhaps he is merely talking, or maybe he is quietly putting together the Indiana Clarks complete with its own mascot, spirited supporters, and an unexpected high VE sponsorship. One thing is certain. This idea is not as outlandish as it might sound. The league faces a choice. Commit to safeguarding Caitlin Clark, the most dynamic and compelling athlete it has ever showcased, or continue allowing Mabrey-style tactics to undermine her. And if it fails to act, you can bet Bird will refuse to remain a passive observer. Whether it takes a new team, a new league, or simply the force of Bird's outspoken critique to drive change, he is making it clear that the old ways will not suffice. So will the WNBA take heed? Will they protect their brightest asset or watch her talent become someone else's triumph? And how might that Bird-powered Clark team perform on the court? Only time will tell. Share your bold predictions, your unconventional theories, or just let me know if you believe Bird truly plans to spark a basketball revolution. One thing is certain. This story is only beginning, and Larry Bird's next moves may provide the catalyst the league desperately needs. Stay tuned. The next chapter could redefine everything.